Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you to our webinar today. We are excited to have Richard Lee joining us from Dynamicweb, and Richard is going to be presenting on Advanced E-commerce with Business Central, Unlocking New Online Revenue Channels. I know you are all eager to get started with this presentation, so before I pass it over to Richard to cover on this topic, I just want to remind you that we are recording this webinar as well as all of our webinars, and you can find this webinar in our on-demand webinar library for you to review or share with anyone. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to type those into the questions box, and we will get them answered throughout the webinar, and we'll also have a Q&A time at the end as well. So now I'm going to pass it on over to Richard to kick off our presentation.
Thank you so much, Angie, and thank you, Innovia, for your partnership. So I'm Richard Lee. I'm the product evangelist as well as sales engineer, digital marketing manager for Dynamicweb. And today we're going to talk about the benefits of an integrated solution with Business Central. What we have in store is a solution that we call a turnkey solution to rapidly bring you to integrated e-commerce and unlocking new opportunities for what you could do online. So the details of the agenda first are a little brief introduction to Dynamicweb and who we are, where we hail from. Then to talk about the turnkey B2B e-commerce benefits. Then talk about how we go live in just 5 days. And then leave room for Q&A, but at the same time, we're going to be able to take questions along the way. Right? And now's a good time for a poll. So Angie, if you could start up our poll.
Okay, you should be able to see that now.
Yeah, I see that. It's on my view screen, so I can't really make out. Okay, so yeah, we got 3 choices there to the question of what is your current e-commerce scenario? And very curious to know what we have out there, the ether. And you let me know when we can proceed, Angie.
Yes, I will. Okay, it looks like we have basically, they're all saying the same. I'm shopping for my first e-commerce solution.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. That's exciting. Great. Well, I think this webinar will be of total benefit for you guys, even though it's slanted towards Dynamicweb. But let's dive right into that right now here. So it's a few more stuff on the PowerPoint deck, but we will be flipping between the PowerPoint deck and the live demo. So Dynamicweb got its start in 1999 in the same country of origin as Navision, formerly or what BC was previously called, and that is Denmark. And we're still associated with Denmark, where our software is currently maintained and continuously developed out of. And but we are also a small global company of about 130 people worldwide, about 31 in the United States, where myself and all of my colleagues are located. And we have over 4,000 customers, since many of them have more than one kind of solution with us, let's say B2B and B2C or dealer portal, etc. We have many more thousands of websites. We have globally over 200 certified partners. In the US, less than that. That's really because our start is more like 7 years ago, as opposed to 1999. And we really value the partnership that we have with Innovia, as you know, Angie. So a couple of brands that trust us. This is just 30 out of the over 4,000 list of, and these are all of our US brands that are currently using Dynamicweb for both B2B and B2C. And this slide here, also known as my favorite slide on the deck, because really shows and demonstrates how our all-in-one platform, as it's known as, it's inclusive combination of content management, e-commerce, marketing, and PIM all tied together, and it's sandwiched between your ERP as well as all the channels that you want to publish to, channels being your B2B, your B2C site, your dealer portal, as well as third-party marketplaces and other feeds, whether it's social media feeds or industry-specific channels that might be available to you. And the way we connect to Business Central is through web services, and we can connect with both a live and batch connection, as this diagram speaks to. And even though we're not integrated where you're hitting a button inside of Business Central that takes you to your e-commerce configuration screen, we're actually, because we're outside of it, we're actually a better solution in a way, because when you're an embedded solution, it integrates only with standard tables, and it adds a lot of custom code to all of these tables individually, and it makes upgrading very, very difficult later on, or at least challenging, because you have to take the code that's been updated in every single table. There may be hundreds of tables in order to upgrade the whole package collectively. So live and batch mode is how we can connect, and the differences just depend on the information that we're bringing across. But certainly when an order is transacted, that is pushed up into Business Central immediately and can begin the process immediately as well. All right, and to highlight that, the way we use web services is we have what's called a code unit, and that code unit is available as a plugin on Microsoft App Source site, and that code unit sits outside of Nav, so we're able to access and read all the details out of Nav above and beyond standard tables, and read that into Dynamicweb, and it's cached inside of Dynamicweb as well. And this way we're not infiltrating Nav or Business Central with any custom code. It's all inside of this code unit, and it's separate and apart from things. So it just makes for a cleaner setup, and also for a setup that if you were using previous version of Nav, let's say even as old as 2009 R2, and it's time to upgrade to D365 Business Central, then that code unit, we just have an updated code unit that's made for D365, as we see here on the screen. And that's the only change that needs to happen, and we could read all the information. I think, Angie, here's another opportunity to do a poll on the next topic, please.
Okay, I've got that launched. How integrated is your e-commerce with D365? And I'll give a few moments and let that generate, and I'll give you the results. And they are saying never got the integration working. They're looking for alternatives.
Okay, and that explains the results on the first poll as well, so, or it supports that as well. So yeah, and that's always the challenge, is that you know, the integration is for sure an important part of an integrated e-commerce solution, but it's not the only part of it. And the hang up sometimes is that um, not the least part of it, and it's certainly maybe the beginning part of things, but it's not the end all be all for what is e-commerce. So for sure that is an important part, and that's an effort and a standard feature with Dynamicweb, that we're an integrated solution. But before that, or in addition to that, we are also a quite robust standalone product, if you will. So let's say you were transitioning from an older version of Nav to D365 Business Central. Your Business Central, let's say, is not up and running yet, and you don't want to connect to Nav. You just kind of want to go live with even just taking orders and manually keying them into the thing, or just building a minimal viable project to get people or your customers familiar with ordering online, which might be new for those people as well. So Dynamic Web, we've done a lot of amazing um, improvements on our solution that I could definitely attest to. As being the sales engineer, my job is to, often customize a solution based on a customer's requirements. Obviously, it's not the requirements for the entire website, but just so that we can have a solid conversation around what our solution can do specifically to them. And I'm going to actually do that using Inovia as the test, as the case study. But that platform, beyond the integration side of things, we want to make it as easy as possible so that the admin, who will really be the only person that interacts with Dynamic Web on a daily basis, is having a really nice relationship with us. Even though it's through our software, it's through a really friendly user interface that's tablet friendly as well, that's got a great experience. So that person who often is wearing many hats in the company. Tasked with managing the website is not their primary task, but in doing so, we make their life much easier. It's super friendly to use, and I think even over the platforms of e-commerce that you may be familiar with today, like a Shopify or WordPress with WooCommerce, this is a super easy way of managing not just product information and things related to the e-commerce side of things, but also around the content of your site. Maybe it's blog posts, maybe it's the way your layout of your homepage exists. And those efforts too, we don't leave those to the wayside. We really have addressed those needs as well. In this slide over here, we're talking about the integration features. Now, we have a kind of like a jumpstart program, or what we call turnkey solution, and that's where we're trying to shorten the time to go live. That's both, involving integration plus the configuration of the site to adapt your corporate visual identity, your look and feel, as well as accommodating the exchange of data between or of these tables here. So scheduled data exchange would be more like a batch update. So not every second or in real time per se. It's looking at things that might change infrequently, like manufacturers, customer contacts, product information, whereas things that change more frequently or need to have a fresh or live lookup on information are, let's say, the available stock, sales orders, sales history, price information, all ready to go. So when someone logs in, we're doing a live data exchange. During their session on the website, we're doing a constant scheduled data exchange, whether it applies to them who's logged in or it might apply to somebody who might log in later in the day. Okay, so we have a 5-day setup of the solution, and I'm going to take you through some of these days in an actual demo here. So day one is what we call Q&A and setup, and that basically is like a workshop, as we have called it too, where we're identifying all the needs for what is phase one of your website need to have, all the must-haves. The nice to haves might be already baked into the solution, but in trying to keep with a 5-day implementation solution, you can imagine that you're really paring down to the essentials and almost like a minimum viable project that you can deliver in a you know, quick number of days. All right, so the Q&A and setup is just finding out what it is you need. We'll go to now two here, day two, configure and design. And day two and day three, I'll just point out day three is adjust the design. So we're kind of in the design phase. So let's flip out of the PowerPoint deck right now, and we're going to go into kind of the live demo, and I'm going to take you through that configured design phase as well as adjusting the design using some elements from Innovia. Now, here I have your logo loaded inside there, but we're going to take this all the way to the back side, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to interface with it on the front end as well. So this is the back end here of Dynamicweb. This is the back end of my demo solution I have, and we're going to go right into something called Visual Editor, which is an amazing drag and drop way of putting elements on the page together. So let's say first thing we kind of want to start off with is like, we don't want to call it mountain bikes. We want it to be the Innovia website, right? So I go here to a section called apps, and apps gives me access to what we call Rapido, which is, if you guys know what a configurator is, and if you don't, it's kind of like if you've ever ordered the computer from Dell, you're choosing, how much RAM you want, how big is the hard drive, do you want an SSD, and it's really selections from options just using your mouse. You're not typing anything into your by keyboard into on the screen. You're just clicking away at things. And we've made the configuration of like a standard demo, which is what I start off with, but it's also what our team and our customers start off with. And it's a blank slate. Now, it's not entirely blank. It has all the feature set behind the scenes to help you get things rolling, as well as all the mechanisms or the mechanics of e-commerce, the shopping cart, and other awesome B2B features, which I'll show you. But it basically allows us through basically point and click to configure things. So the logo, right? Let's start off with that. Let's change it from mountain bikes. I created a folder here called Demo Innovia, and I'm going to select the Innovia logo, and I put that in there. Now, if we look at this logo, there are colors that constitute the graphical design. My assumption is usually that those colors constitute the brand colors here. So instead of me one by one trying to figure out what the colors are that constitute your logo, I can go here to the pencil, and I can choose how do I want to derive these brand colors. I'm going to do it based on an image, and that image is going to be the logo. So I go here, select the Innovia logo there, and now look, it plucked out the colors, the brand colors. Isn't that awesome? And so I don't have to do that myself. Otherwise, I have to go to another site, Color Picker. I have to use a color picking tool. It's a hassle. Some of you might know what I mean, but if you don't, I assure you, it's time better spent than doing other things. And now we've made that aspect super easy. So let me save it. Now all the colors are no longer like purely red, green, and blue. They're these Innovia earthy colors. Actually, it dovetails right into the fall season that we're in. Right. So now let's confirm all that. Right. So actually, let me just go back here. I'm going to do a Control S like you would anywhere else in Windows or on a Mac, Command S. And once that's done, I'm going to refresh the home page over here and hit continue and show you. There it says Innovia now, and I didn't apply any of the brand colors elsewhere, but we're going to continue with the presentation here. But take a look here. As I scroll, the top navigation remains in place. That's called sticky navigation, and search is very prominent right here in the top. Let's say I wanted that navigation I want the navigation of the top to scroll with everything else. So I turn off the sticky navigation. I do Control S and refresh. Let me hit refresh here, hit continue. And now when I scroll, the whole top navigation goes with it. So just to emphasize how this Rapido functionality that we call it is really about rapid configuration of the layout of your website and maybe some of the other elements, the colors for sure, the logo, even the fave icon, we could change to the check mark in the Innovia logo. So let's do that. Let's change it to that. And so you don't have to convert it to the .ico file type, which is also an extra effort. So let's just refresh here. We'll save, and then we're going to go into adjusting the actual content on the home page. Okay, and notice there the fave icon here at the top is now the Innovia checkbox. All right, so back over here, back to content, we're going to start to change content here. Now, I had taken the liberty to first go into files, create by right-clicking a new subfolder called demo Innovia, and found some images online that I dragged and dropped into this area here so that I can work with. And if I go here to thumbnail view, or I could see it in different thumbnails, but let me just go back to this view over here. Now, if I go here to content, I'm using this drag and drop cool editing feature here called Visual Editor. Let me just refresh it from the beginning here. Great, and we have what I put in there as a new logo. Now let's say a sandwich between I want to sandwich the Innovia Consulting logo between some faces of the folks at Innovia. So let's change this by just going here to edit this. And this is what we mean by day 2, configure the design. Maybe it's not down into the nitty gritty. That might be more of adjusting the design, day 3, but setting up the layout, the kind of look and feel of things are part and parcel to the second day of your implementation. So let's change this by going to the folder. Let's browse for another image to Innovia here. Let's use Steve's photo here. And we could link it if we want to another page or to his page on the website if we wanted to create that. We can call it what this is. We could say it's Steve Waltz's page and just call it that. So it's just an easy way of finding it through other means of using the platform. And there, give it a moment, and it changes. And you see it puts it inside there. It doesn't resize the whole image or the whole page and adjust things and move them into negative ways. So that's an easy way of doing things. But then let's see, how does the drag and drop come into play here? So over here on the left, we have a lot of what we call road templates. And these are made for a variety of different types of solutions, right? I mean, not to say that we're creating a menu here, but in the way a menu might have these side-by-side big bold images, I could maybe use that to show more of our action shots of our team and have some text overlaying on top. I don't need to keep it, so I can just hit delete and that row is deleted. But I did take the liberty of creating a row here that's in a section that I called Innovia, and in the final solution for customers, imagine that they have one that maybe if their business is very seasonal, they'll have like summer, fall, winter, spring as different places, and they can take rows that are essentially micro templates already saved, and they can drag them over here to the right. And so I created this one here for Bob. And Bob, I apologize, I misspelled your name there, but I can always go over here to adjust those spellings and do so here. And probably did it wrong again here. So, but let's say, take a look here with this, what we call a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. This one here is now really designed to be more what's called web accessibility rules. So kind of like taking ADA, American Disabilities Act, and applying it to the web, and they call it WACG. And we are adapting that to make the interfaces much cleaner. You're not trying to hone in on a button that's very tiny and really designed for 20-something-year-old eyes versus older eyes. You now have a much prettier interface that's more aligned with what you see out of Word. So you can adjust accordingly here. We'll hit OK. And here I have a video of him over here. But let's say I want to take another video and change some text around him. So I could use that same one for him, or I can take one of these other ones. Let's say this one. Let me move that over here and put in another video. All right. So let's say I go here to edit the video. Here it takes an iframe code here, right? So I can grab this iframe code from whether I use YouTube or I use Vimeo. I can go here to share and I go to embed. And I can select that, choose copy, go over here and just highlight all this and paste it. I did it with my keyboard. I hit OK. And this video preview will change to the one about Holly hijacking the podcast. And then you can adjust what is written over here on the left side. And without doing any save in this case, because I'm using the visual editor, I go here to the front end, I hit refresh, I hit continue, and there's Steve's image, and there's Bob's image, and there's Holly and Steve here. And that's just an easy way of assembling this. So you can imagine that our integration is almost plug and play. Our platform is super user friendly. You could see how that kind of like peanut butter and jelly coming together to create a very fast way or turnkey way of producing a website. And the integration might happen once and is there to live by over and over, but the website is a work in progress constantly. And depending on the season, depending on the news that needs to be delivered, those changes can be done by someone who is an admin of the website, and maybe they had known WordPress in the past or known your previous website in the past. They're already more than enough qualified to use Dynamicweb. They don't need to be a developer in any way, because as you noticed, I didn't have to do any code except maybe the embed code for that, but that was really a copy and paste. So let me pause here for some water. Angie, do we have any questions?
Thank you, Richard. Yes. Roughly how long does an how long does an implementation take? I think I
All
need
right, good
water.
question. Yeah, and water. Um, so I'm proposing the one here that we're saying it takes 5 days to implement, but in reality, let's say it takes a month to implement at a basic level, right? And what is that basic level? In the deck, let's get back to it. Yep, here. And we talked about these kind of basic tables that we're looking at over here, some order history, the invoicing, so that it can support different areas. Now, all businesses have a way in which they operate that differ from all of their competition. And that's why Nav is a reflection of that, or Business Central is a reflection of that, with the customizations of tables. And not that all tables used by throughout the company to support master data are part and parcel to the e-commerce experience, but they can be. And that's where the time to develop takes longer, because there are customized needs for our solution. So taking what we have as like foundational stuff and moving it to the next level in order to support the customer's needs. So I could say at a very basic level, like an MVP, a month, maybe even a couple weeks within that month, all the way up to maybe 6 months or longer, depending on what their custom needs are. Hope that satisfies your question.
Yes,
All right,
thank you.
so sure, you're welcome. So under, and let me just unpack that too, since I'm here in the back end. Like we have here the ability to do RMAs and the ability to do quotes. So let me show you what those two look like on the front end. So this is the front end. I was adjusting it as we saw, and I'm currently logged in as a demo user, let's say, right? And I have 25 items in my shopping cart. By clicking on this thing, we call it a mini cart, and that's what appears here. So I'm, let's say, a B2B customer. I have my favorites. So let's say in checking out, and this is where we could see some of the things, especially related to quoting. So a quote isn't quite an order. It's something that we can take all the kind of the step-by-step, the funnel of shopping, and convert that from it going straight into an order, which by clicking on go to checkout would essentially, let's say I'll do PO number and give it a PO number here, and imagine in a B2B scenario, there's no credit card required, though there are B2Bs that do take a credit card for certain smaller accounts, cash customers, whatever it might be. So that's certainly possible. Um, and then here, if I choose I accept, go to checkout would be a completed order, and that would push it into Business Central, and that'd be one and done. And when we get into the back end to look at orders, we could see that Business Central picked it up by assigning it a sales order number. But if I wanted to go like, well, I was speaking with a sales rep, and they said that they can give me better pricing on both these products. So I can say, at Jack, um, per our meeting, can you improve pricing for us, right? So I'm kind of like communicating through an order, but I'm actually not making an order. I'm going to make it a quote request. So that's how we can do quoting at a very basic level. It's utilizing everything leading up to this point, the cart and all that, and you can do a quote request. But we've made quoting portals for customers that are far more elaborate, where it's accessing D365 customer engagement and then pulling in details from that and tying it to, let's say, Explogic's configurator and on and on and on. It's quoting to the highest degree of quoting, or ones that just dealt with salespeople on the road, and instead of you know how it is with a tablet and trying to have an attachment, it's a bit of a pain in the butt. We made it so that it's a single screen that includes your email as well on that screen, as well as your quoting module. So the sky's the limit. Of course, budget keeps everything on the planet Earth, but at least we could take the building components of our platform and leverage them to the next level. And that goes for a lot of different things inside of Dynamic Web. Let's point that out here. So if I go here to my customer center, which is the self-service portal that customers can help themselves to, I can go here to my RMA. And FYI, most of the features I'm showing you right now, or I can point out when it's not necessarily baked in, but these are all baked in here. So if I go here to add new request, this is another place where, we think about the integration to an ERP like Business Central. We're only maybe focused in on the shopping aspect of it, but part of shopping, as painful as it might be to take a return, this is where it can also interface or use the integration to the to Business Central to retrieve orders that qualify, maybe based purely on the time range that they were placed, that they qualify for a potential return. And so we can click on that, and these are orders specific to this customer. So in this $7,000 order, there's actually only one line item in there, but let's say if I can find one that maybe had more than one item inside there to return, this one has two, then I can specify which one I want to return, explain why, create the request, and then that request can maybe just live inside of Dynamic Web, be pushed inside of BC. That is part of the implementation or the integration side of things to, decide on how it's going to be handled that way. But at the end of the day, the customer will be able to see what are the RMAs that I put in requests for, and have they been approved or denied? And that's what the state would speak to here. Okay, so from an ordering perspective, let's just look at what we get out of Dynamic Web that's ready to use the moment you start using it, the moment you're maybe implementing it for a turnkey solution, what you get. So we know the search up here. Let me show you something really cool here. So there is a product here. Oh, sorry, spelled it wrong. Izumi, all right? So in the world of, let's say, selling clothing or selling a lot of products, products can have what we call variants, and that's where they have one or more dimensions that are the product, but in a different size. In this case, it's two dimensions, size and color. So in the case of ordering this, instead of doing it almost one by one color, one size at a time, as a traditional e-commerce solution might handle it. But for a B2B perspective, we want to be able to, in one fell swoop, be able to order quickly, because that speaks to what B2Bs want, right? The convenience of back in the day, and why a lot of people still resort to faxing, is they put an order on a piece of paper, put it in a machine that's not a shredder, and it transmits it to another machine to receive it, but then somebody has to do a lot of dirty work and handheld work to input it into the ERP. So in doing it in a digitally transformed way, we want to make life easy. So in this matrix, you can punch in all the quantities that you want and in the different colors so that you're just placing the order in with one click of a button versus a click for every color and size coordination that you're wanting to do, and that will add that all to the cart as well. Another thing too is if you notice that when I was typing it in, I didn't type in the whole product name, and it just did a lookup of or assumption of what it is that I was typing in, and it shows me thumbnails as well. And some of these can be added right to the cart, and the others that cannot, it's because those are variants that you have to see the product in detail first to determine what color or what variant matrix you're going to be utilizing to input information in. All right, and then let's look at some product details around mountain bikes, which is the subject matter of this demo. And take a look over here. I go here to, this is what we call the product list page under the category of mountain bikes. I have 8 results. Here are my filters on the left. And these filters change. If I'm looking at clothing, obviously the material for clothing, not today at least, are not carbon, chromalloy, or titanium for clothing. It's only for these bicycles, right? But looking at here, the shingles that we have the favorites here, we have the 25% off, the details. When we jump right in, let's take a look at the product details page, as they're called. And we have lots of information from here. But as we know, a ERP doesn't often have all this information. It doesn't naturally keep this. In fact, I've worked recently with an ERP and it only gave me 2 pieces of information. It gave me the product number and the product name. In order to get the product description and details, I had to comb the web, collect all that, put it together, and then pop it into my website. Now, I missed out the part that I use a PIM to do that. I didn't use a bunch of Excel files, but we'll try to get to the PIM in due time. But I want to show you a few things here that are particularly part and parcel of a B2B experience that I don't think I've seen this in any other solution. And that's a feature that we have up over here as a short icon called an order draft, and we certainly have it over here as an add to draft. So the problem with e-commerce sites is that, they're all copies of each other and they're all copying the fact that there's a single shopping cart. But in the B2B environment, if you think about it, your customers are setting up orders for a variety of needs. Maybe they're a construction company, they're building out a few different restaurants, but all those restaurants are a little different from each other, so they like to keep the orders separate from each other. So if you're using a standard shopping cart solution, there's only one cart. And that's why in a B2B world, you'll commonly see abandoned carts. They're not really abandoned. They're just being staged for one single order, but collecting all the needs for that order. But if you want to have kind of the best of both, like a shopping cart where you could just check out, but also a favorites list where you're kind of collecting products into one or more lists, we created something called the order draft. And we can access the order drafts over here, or let's say in this product over here, I want to add this item to the draft. I can click on add draft, and then it asks me which draft do I want to add it to, and I can specify the draft number. I can hit add, and it's essentially, let's say I'll view that draft, right? And it's essentially a place to keep orders or products that we're going to be ordering. But let's say draft number 1514 has to do with a restaurant on Main Street that we're building out, or the bike shop on Main Street that they're going to be ordering a bunch of products from. They're putting it all inside of their order drafts and making a collection of it. And unlike the favorites list, let's jump to the favorites list just to show you something here. When I see, let's say, Fall Project 12, and I go and I see an item here, I have to add whatever is on the favorites list to the cart. So in one way, it's I can have a lot of things that I might not commit to all of them, but I can choose which ones I want to commit to by adding them to the cart individually. But if I know for sure that I'm going to be committing to all the items in cart number 1514 in the open draft, then I can just conveniently, when I get into it, have a place order button, and it'll move all these items into the shopping cart, and I can check out from there. All right, so just to paint all the possibilities that we have from a B2B perspective, and one more here on the front end that we'll dive maybe a little more into the back end around maybe the PIM, is um, here. It's, let's say I'm demo user, right? But I'm signing out for now. Right, so I'm going to log in as a different user. We call this person the sales rep. All right, and let's log in over here. All right, now I'm logged in as the sales rep, right? And the sales rep gets a call from the demo user saying like, hey, I need some assistance with adding to my order drafts. So the sales rep can log in with their login, and they can impersonate other customers. So they go over here to view list of users you can manage or impersonate. And let's say I want to choose demo users. There's demo user. And I go over here to manage. And now it says here, demo user is being managed by sales rep. So remember, demo user had 2 items in the cart. And now, even though I looks like I'm demo user, it's really, I was logged in as myself. I don't need to memorize any other person's passwords, and I can assist them. Either they're on the phone with me and I'm going to say, all right, I just added more things to your shopping cart, hit refresh, or your favorites list, or order drafts, refresh, and they'll be able to do so and see what's happening. The sales rep could even, or customer service rep, whoever it might be, can even check out for them as well. So we make the solution super easy, super already built in and baked in to support this B2B world that has certain needs that may involve customer service, but also involve just an easier way of operating. And for sure, let's point out one more thing in terms of supporting the fast way of ordering is here through the previous orders, because if you think about B2Bs commonly buy the same things over and over. So they can go to a previous order, and right on this view here, without diving into it per se, they can click on reorder. It'll take all the line items, all the quantities, put them in the cart, and then at the cart level is where they can go in to adjust quantities as well. So lots of stuff baked in to support a true B2B experience, and integrated as well. Let me pause here before we go to the back end with a question for Angie. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Richard. Yes. How much work is involved on our end during an implementation?
Okay, who's our end? Is that the partner or the
Um, both.
both?
Can you
Okay,
kind of explain a little bit of both?
yeah, sure.
Who has what
Yeah,
responsibilities?
yeah. So, in that, let's say day 1 here, Q&A is set up. So, a couple things. We need access to your Business Central environment. So there's the technical team in the company. There's also the people who are now assigned, if they weren't previously assigned to a previous e-commerce solution. And I'm only speaking to the fact that in the first poll, people said that they didn't have a solution. So you might be assigning people in the company to now be in charge of e-commerce. And it doesn't have to be, a lot of people. It really could be one person who is tasked with maybe all things website. And then on the partner side, one of the challenges with an integrated solution is that it the data inside there, like in that story I painted where I only got the product number and the product name, that's really not enough for an e-commerce solution for the general public. Like, if you have 100 customers today, but you want 200 customers tomorrow, your 100 customers today might tolerate the fact that you don't have a lot of product information, but your 100 customers tomorrow might need more product information. Where does that come from? If you're a manufacturer, the good news is you make it yourselves. You can figure out what information to put in there, but that can also be challenging. If you're a distributor or wholesaler, you get this information from your vendors. So let's say you're selling consumer electronics, then you can get it from a single data supplier like Ingram Micro, or you get it from Sony, LG, Samsung, and all the countless others to give you files that come in an Excel file, or they come in as a gigantic Excel file with 32 tabs on the bottom. So it's a variety of people that are technical, creative, and then even on the technical side, they might have specific focuses as a nav developer or sysadmin or other DevOps types of people. And then the partner side, depending on that partner relationship, maybe they're providing more of the technical aspects of things as well, of where things are. So if this is a more customized solution where we're not going for the standard tables that typically support B2B, and now we're looking at things that are more specific to your type of unique way of running your business, then we need someone to help us find those tables, find those fields. And maybe that's the partner, maybe it's the nav or ERP person in the company. Hope that addresses the question.
Yes, Richard, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. And so just in the deck here, even though we're going to wrap up on the back end of Dynamic Web here, so day 2 and 3 is really setting up the look and feel of the website, and that's based on your corporate visual identity, but also utilizing the way we have a template structure that's all based on your look and feel and your content and all that can be loaded, and all your images and product details and spec sheets and all that can be loaded up. And whether that's 2 or 3 days or a little longer than that, always following it before we go live is training. So whoever's in charge with the website and even or the technical aspects of the site, they're all trained by all of our team that knows it very well. And so you're not left to figure out anything on your own. And then on the final day, whether it's day 5 or day 30 to go live, we're preparing like the fact that, we're often switching from one website to another. And even if you didn't have e-commerce on your previous site, your brochure, your look and feel of your website are part of the new solution using Dynamic Web, but there's also a shop built into it. And even though you don't click on shop here anymore, everything is in either add to cart or just information, but there's still things like what we call 301 redirects, so that Google can know that though the old site has been dismantled or turned off, any references to pages and details that the old site might have contained that people link to will be linked to another page or other pages that support that same content. So you're not going to have errors on Google when people search your company. It'll be nice, smooth, clean transition. Okay, so wrapping up here, I just want to show you some more of the back end. So we had seen the visual editor. Files is where we manage all the things. You heard me saying that I could drag and drop things inside here. But let's say I want to make the check mark that I have for Innovia, and I want to make that check mark a different size, or I want to make it black and white to use it somewhere else. I can go here to effects, I can go here to grayscale, back to image, and save it as, and call it the Innovia checkmark black and white, and do that. And I'm doing that all inside my browser, inside the server. I didn't have to open up Photoshop, FTP, 2 different programs. I'm doing it all in one, as we're attesting to here. Users, now you guys out there for e-commerce, it's not only supporting your customers today, it's also supporting new customers, finding new opportunities with the customers you have. And the smart search is really the way in which we get there. And the smart search is really what we call also in marketing, targeted marketing, a way of honing in who is buying what. And because they're buying what, what can we upsell them? What can we cross-sell them? What can we inform them about from that first purchase that they made? That's one of the many things that we can do with this. But I think to just summarize it very quickly is that we can identify people having bought a product or not. So did they buy this product? Yes. Did they not buy this product as a result? So yes, they bought this product, but they buy the extended warranty for that product as well. And we could say, but they did not buy it. So who bought the John Deere tractor, but did not buy the extended warranty for them? And if just those two things alone, that will attract people, because now it's not like, oh, here's the Labor Day sale, 30% off. That's great and everything. But, oh, this is speaking to me because I bought that John Deere tractor, and no, I didn't buy the extended warranty. I didn't even know there was an extended warranty. And now you're giving me 10% off because you've given me enough lead time to react to this, and like, I'm 4 months away from it expiring, so you could give them an opportunity to take advantage of that lead time with a little bit of a discount. And those discounts, promo codes, vouchers, we have all built into Dynamicweb to identify them as well. And these smart searches are tied in with content. As we saw, content is not just the home page and all the pages on your website, but we also have content as it relates to newsletters. All right. And we also have content over here as related to what we call printable papers. Basically, what this is like, it's the ability to create a PDF that's downloadable with all the correct pagination, but it's tied into your look and feel. So the color, let's go, sorry, let's go here. Let's go to um, edit, and we can actually edit this page very easily. So it's basically, let me show you what it looks like. It's a on-screen brochure that is dynamically generated by the product catalog information, as well as a cover page and a back page. And the cover page and back page are completely customizable. It's generating right now, so I'll just return to this later, but you can customize the front cover page here, the back cover over here, and what are the data collected inside here. And even though I'm showing you this on the back end, we can easily link this up to the front end so that people can download a brochure that's just dynamically generated for them. So that means that you don't have to edit the brochure later because you updated product information. All of that, whether it originates initially from the ERP, is supplemented and enriched by our PIM. But on the front end, the customer doesn't care where it came from. They just want to be able to download something that's the freshest copy. And they'll be able to do so. And here it is. It's loaded up here. This cover page, this text, this logo is 100% customizable. The content here is all based and derived from the product catalog, which some of it comes from the ERP, and often it needs to be enriched by a PIM, and that our PIM supports. So it could be the freshest copy without it straining the whole team to have to update 400 different PDF files. And this is on screen here. I could print it out, or if I choose download here, it's going to download a PDF version of this as well. So that's really powerful, because dynamic web, and it's speaking to the multi-channels of the world, the omni-channel. That omni-channel too is the offline world. It's the printed PDF world as well. And e-commerce, we got a ton of things going on here. The product catalog there, it's downloaded that file as a PDF file here, the Adobe image there on the left. And then PIM, we have product information management. So like I said, I painted earlier for you guys that I got only a product number and a product name. And of course, you probably get the price and the quantity as well out of the ERP. But all that other information that certain audiences want and demand, and depending on the products you're selling, whether it's in the food category, it's in the wine category, how do you add all those details? How do you add the nutritional facts? How do you add the nutritional facts in a database form? You're not just copying and pasting an image of it, so that if I want to search for grams of fat in a product and show that as an email to customers, The only way to do that is to make it into a database, and a PIM is a user interface in our world that accesses the product catalog in such a way to support the many kinds of people that need to access the PIM to enrich it. So external photographers, external translation bureaus, and obviously the team in the company that knows the products very well to add and enrich things. So let's say you want to put a bunch of unboxing videos from YouTube for products, and these aren't videos that you made, but you like the product or the production quality of the videos, you can associate it with your products and assign them to that, and not worry that the ERP just suddenly someone changed the product name. That's not going to overwrite anything you've done in our PIM, because we're using a unique identifier like the SKU product number, but all the other enrichments and fields you've added will not be impacted by that update. So I'm going to wrap up over here, hoping any questions, any further questions, and thanks for your time today, everybody.
Thank you, Richard. We do have a couple more questions for you, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Can we do a phased implementation? Start with e-commerce, then add marketing?
Oh, absolutely. You, in the diagram of my deck here, I had them all as like one big package here. But honestly, like if this were a dividing line, you could say that marketing and the PIM are not required. So if you want to do a true MVP, you could do a minimum viable product with just content, e-commerce, get the ball rolling, get comfortable with things. And then as you gain traction, as you gain sales, then marketing will make sense. And the data is being collected. So even if we add marketing later, it's not from that point forward that you have marketing data. It's from the fact that you started off with content and e-commerce that we have access to marketing data. And the same goes for BIM.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And are multiple languages extra?
No, they're not extra. The way our license works, it's quite simple. It's not by number of users or products per se. It's really by the domain name. So let's say Anovia.com, that's one domain name. Shop.anovia.com, that's another domain name. That's another license, but it's pared down in pricing. But in terms of languages, you can have multiple languages, and we're hailing out of Denmark, a country of 5 million people. Then like I'm in LA, a city of 5 million people. So it's recognized by the company very early on that language and global possibilities are not a constraint in the platform in any way, and we don't charge additional for that. Angie?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's all the questions that we have
Awesome.
had come through.
Great.
If anybody has any further questions that you would like to ask Richard, please feel free to type them in now so we can get them addressed. Or Richard, do you have your contact info?
Oh boy, I don't have it on my deck here. I apologize, but you know, we have I'll just type it in here. Let's do it. Well, I don't have anything handy to do that, but I'll just read it out for you guys. It's info@dynamicwebusa.com. I know it's not me specifically, but you'll get to the right people that way.
Okay. Or I was going to say they can also contact their Anovia account manager as well to be able to get their questions answered too.
Of course.
All right, well, thank you, Richard, for presenting. And to everyone on our webinar today, or if you're watching on demand, we just want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Angie. Pleasure to be here, and thank you again for the partnership.
Not a problem, thank you. And to let you know, we do have some more webinars coming up. Tomorrow, we have Alyssa from Sana Commerce at 1 p.m. Central. She is going to be presenting on diversify your revenue streams with an online sales channel. And next Wednesday, we have Easy Stock presenting at 10 a.m. Central on why inventory optimization should be your next step in supply chain digitization. So check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's enovia.com/events. Have you heard our podcast yet? It's called the Enovia Conversation, and we just want to encourage you to listen to our podcast that our hosts Steve Waltz and Jeff Pergolski have provided to us. And if you scroll through our podcast selection, you will find one that Richard spoke to them about earlier this year. So check out that podcast and as well as the rest of them and subscribe so you'll be notified when those new episodes air. And fall is here, and that means conference time in our environment. Enovia Consulting is proud to be a premier sponsor for Community Summit, which is a virtual event coming up on October 7th through the 9th. Community Summit is the annual gathering for all NAV and Business Central users and supporters, regardless of your experience level. It is full of great sessions to help you develop leadership skills, improve your NAV BC skills, and so much more. So check out our conference page, and that's enovia.com/conferences for more details and how you can save money on your summit registration. All right, everyone, we're going to wrap up. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on another Enovia webinar. Have a great day, everyone.